Well, it's a Sunday morning. I'm here at the Bayfield Mall, and there's nobody here really. But it's Apocalypse today, yeah. So stay tuned for a great banner. Welcome to another SkaredCast Battle Report, and today, Apocalypse is upon us. The Dark Eldar take on a force of Imperial Guard and Chaos Space Marines, and even some Tau in an apocalyptic conflict. This is the release party of the new 40k Apocalypse, and we've set up the table. It is a large 4x6, and I'm playing Rob. You've seen me play him before down at Sir Games Lot in Barrie, Ontario, Canada. So make sure you stay tuned for the report. It's bound to be one crazy day of gaming. It's early in the morning, and we're about to set up and everything. First, the armies. The Dark Eldar forces of Skari. This is 4,000 points of Dark Eldar. The only formation I have is a Kabalite Webway Strike Force with an Archon, an Incubi, and a Venom, 2 units of Trueborn and Venoms, 2 units of Kabalite Warriors and Raiders, and 2 Ravagers. They deploy via Webway Portal. They have to be in Strategic Reserve, and then when they arrive, everything is twin-linked, which is going to be kind of fun. And then everything else is just a hodgepodge of lots of units. So 2 Razor Wings, a couple of units of Witches and Raiders, Scourge, Reaver jet bikes, a couple of Talos, Beast Pack, the Eldar jet bikes, the Grotesques, Rax, a Farseer, another Archon, a Succubus, 3 Liquefied Gun Homunculuses, 1 with a Webway Portal, 7 Mandrakes. That's right, the Mandrakes have made it out again. And, of course, the Court of the Archon, which I just finished. Well, it's tabletop standard, haven't finished painting it yet. And then 12 Hellions. Everything is WYSIWYG, so Agonizers are Agonizers and Weapons are Weapons for simplicity throughout the game. And then we have Rob's force of Chaos, Imperial Guard, and a whole bunch of crazy stuff. So, Rob, do you want to take us through it?
All right. Well, here we have our Imperial Guard, just infantry. They're all veteran units, and they all have Grenadier armor. So they are all at 4+. Over here in this section, these are all my HQs. They're just thrown in there. I have a Lord of Khorne on a Juggernaut. I've got a Lord Commissar, Primaris Psyker, Warpsmith. I even have a little Tau Fire Warrior, Fire Cadre.
Fireblade, yeah.
Yeah, Fireblade. And my little command squad. Behind them, I have the Riptide that will be joining them.
Dun, dun, dun.
And next to him, the Vindicare Assassin.
Dirty bastard.
And then in there I have 5 of the Chosen in Chaos.
Mm-hmm. With plasma guns.
I have Havocs and then Raptors. Again, just like you said, they're all WYSIWYG.
Okay.
I've got 4 Terminators and a Chaos Land Raider.
Cool.
And over here is my Chaos Warband.
Warband.
There's 3 squads of Chaos Space Marines, 10 mans, and then 2 squads of 10 Plague Marines.
Awesome.
Yeah. Behind that I have 1 Chimera, 1 Hellhound, a big Death Strike missile, and 2 Lehman Russes.
And of course, the Hades Drill.
Hades Breaching Drill.
And last but not least, 1 Super Heavy. This is Baneblade. It's a special character Baneblade. Wasteman, which makes them ballistical 4, and he can twin link stuff. It's kind of cool. We're using the new rules, and of course, we chose 1 Super Heavy or 1 formation as to not overload it. Fully painted. Make sure you stay tuned for the rest of the game. Okay, and deployment is done. The Dark Eldar bid 10 minutes, and the Imperial Guard bid 12 minutes. So the Dark Eldar deployed first. As you can see here, the deployment all across the table, because we don't know where objectives are going yet. We have a fast-moving wall on that flank, and a little bit of support in the center. My arterial webway, which is from the strategic formation of the Kabalite Warriors, basically a webway portal where tanks can come out of, except when they come out, they all count as twin-linked weapons for the turn. And then on his side, we have Chosen and units, and a Baneblade, and a Hellhound in the center, and a Terminator Land Raider. Lots of Chaos Space Marines supporting the Imperial Guard advance, and a Lehman Russ battle tank with monstrous creature killer instant death shells, which is going to be kind of cool. And of course the Riptide with Skyfire. So stay tuned as we move on to... by the way, you can still steal the initiative in Game of Apocalypse. We're going to put infiltrators down objectives, and we'll be back. Okay, Warlord traits have been decided. The Warlord's finest hours, the Warmaster's finest hours, are something that you have to roll for randomly when it happens, and you can actually steal the initiative. So Rob here is going to try and steal the initiative from the Dark Eldar and Eldar forces. Does he?
No.
He does not. And now it's on to Dark Eldar and Eldar, turn 1. See you after the apocalypse. And Dark Eldar, movement phase, because there's going to be so much happening. I'm doing a movement, shooting, and assault phase videos. So, Talos is moved up. By the way, there's an objective right there, an objective behind that wall right there. Then we have an objective right here, an objective behind that crater over there, an objective in that pile of guardsmen in the middle, it's a little throne of skulls there, and then an objective right here. There's 6 objectives, 2 of them in each deployment zone, 2 of them in no man's land. And that's 6 in total. We each put 3 down. Okay, so the Court of the Archon with Homunculus moved into the Bastion, although they're not going to stay there for long because of the Hades reaching drill coming in that won't scatter. Then we have the Rax and the Farseer moved up into a big line. The Scourge are guided. They're probably going to take a shot at that Vindicare Assassin to infiltrate over there. Then the Grotesques have a 4-up imbol. And the Helions moved up on this flank. I had a lot of running. The jet bikes moved up, the beasts moved up, the 2 witch units have boosted up, and then the mandrakes are just hiding behind that wall ready to strike at the appropriate time. So moving on to shooting phase. Okay, so lots of shooting, and I killed a guardsman, and I killed a Chaos Space Marine, and I did not kill the Vindicare Assassin. So now we're moving on to Imperial Guard and Chaos. Turn 1. Chaos and Imperial Guard movement phase. The flank moved up. All units moved up. The Dark Eldar unleashed a blind barrage, which ended up being a huge line of line-of-sight blocking terrain, which saved them from the large bulk of the Imperial Guard shooting, as it blocks line of sight through it until the start of the next Imperial Guard turn. But the orbital bombardment that was unleashed by the Imperial Guard did blow up a raider. It scattered wildly over here and just hit the raider, killed a bunch of witches. And now the others are trying to knock out the other witch raider before they cause more havoc. And now we're moving on to the shooting phase. We'll be back after the end of the turn. Okay, so Imperial Guard and Chaos turn 1 saw both Taloses die. The forces advanced. The Bastion took a glancing hit from a couple of last cannons. Everything kind of moved up. The blind barrage really saved the Dark Eldar from a world of hurt. The Succubus and her unit of witches all fell to the Eradicator, which ignores cover, which is amazing. And that raider survived with 2 hull points taken off it. And now we're moving on to Dark Eldar turn 2. After the second turn, we're going to have a break. Then we'll count up some points. And the formation over there and 1 Razor Wing are coming on the board. We'll be back after that. Okay, so turn 2 Dark Eldar movement. Jet bikes are guided, but they're just staying back there. The fortress is still there with some guys inside of it. Everything is moving forward. The Dark Eldar formation, Webway Strike Force showed up. 2 Cavalite Warriors and Raiders, Trueborn units. The Warlord is using his super Fate. For this whole game turn, any unit within 20 fortresses of him gets full ballistic skill when overwatching, which is kind of fun. Helions have a 4-up imbol. They moved up. The beasts are moving up to charge some guardsmen. We got some witches going to get some haywire grenades in on tanks. We got the Reaver jet bikes moving up. The Homunculus moved out of the witch unit. By the way, my pain token was my drug roll was pain token. So he moved into coherency with the mandrakes to give them a pain token for some extra shooting later in the phase. And we're moving on to shooting phase. It's starting to get pretty crazy. End of Dark Eldar turn 2. The Webway Strike Force moved out. Lots of shooting. Saw the Land Raider and Hellhound go down. That unit of guardsmen lose almost all its numbers. A couple of Terminators go down with the Warpsmith. The Blind Barrage actually saved to my detriment as the Grotesques were unable to charge the Plague Marines. The Witches failed to kill the Eradicator, putting 3 hell points on it, but failing to kill it. And I've almost killed his Warlord. He's only got 1 wound remaining as the Mandrakes have charged in. He keeps on passing wounds to this unit in the building. Meanwhile, the Reaver jet bikes boosted up and succeeded in killing the couple of models that way as well. And now we're moving on to Imperial Guard Tau and Chaos turn 2, where the reserves are going to start arriving and put more pressure onto the Dark Eldar army. We'll be back right after this apocalyptic movement of turn 2. We're in the middle of the shooting phase. The Tau Chaos Imperial Guard moved up. They've already blown up this raider over here with some snap shooting from the last cannon over there who moved up. And then killed a bunch of warriors in the explosion. Everything else has moved up. going to be seeing a lot of carnage, and I used my second strategic asset, my last one, to turn it night fight this shooting phase in order to mitigate some damage and increase my cover saves. And we'll be back right after turn 2 Imperial Guard. End of Imperial Guard turn 2 and the start of our first break. So the Hades drill came out and made my unit actually run away with a tank shock. It put a penetrating hit on the bastion and killed a couple of guys inside, which was not nice. Lots of shooting saw the entire Cavalite Webway assault almost completely destroyed, with only a couple of warriors left. The Baneblade, Havoc shooting everything around here, even the Death Strike missile that went off, killing a few models there. In combat, we have the Hellions, who survived combat because of their 4-up invul against some Plague Marines, and the Beast Pack that is struggling against some guardsmen over there. Plus, the Chaos Lord came over here to bail out the War Master out of the combat there, who was in his hour of glory. And the Eradicator eliminated all of the witches because I wasn't able to kill it last turn. It has 4 hull points because it's got an upgrade from Forge World. And I had made it night fight in this shooting phase with my second strategic asset to make sure I mitigated some damage, which did help. So we counted points since its first break. The Imperial Guard have 1 point there. They have 1 point there behind the crater. They have 1 point where the Riptide is, and they have 1 point where the Raptors are, since my unit was falling back and the Raptors showed up. It would deep strike and no scatter because of the strategic asset. On the contrary, the Dark Eldar have 1 point over here and 1 point on the other side of that bastion, making it 2 points to 4, favoring the Imperial Guard. We'll be back after the break. Back from break. So, Dark Eldar turn 3. The Razor Wings arrive on this flank, ready to strafe the infantry. The Medusa gets ready to use his sight. The Incubi get ready to charge. Lots of Ravagers moving around to target tanks. Grotesque Incinerator move up onto that, moving to threaten that objective. Blaster and Archon moving up to threaten the units that are in combat. Raider trying to take out the Eradicator and trying to take out his Warlord. Now we'll be back after Dark Eldar turn 3. Killed. He made a lot of saves in that unit. Almost killed them with Razor Wings. The Raptors are falling back. The Imperial Guard unit over there is falling back from the Beast Pack Masters. The Archon charged in and killed the Sergeant in a challenge, but they won combat with the poison weapons, and the Hellions are falling back. I killed his Warlord in his finest hour, giving me 2 victory points, which means I'm now tied with him in victory points. Now we're moving on to Imperial Guard turn 3. I also knocked out the Chimera in the center of the board and killed 4 in the explosion. We'll be back right after this. Turn 3 for the Chaos Space Marines. So the Rex take some damage. Saw one of the Ravagers go down. Grotesque Raider be stunned. All the Razor Wings finally died. All the Reaver Jetbikes died to a Juggerlord. The Archon that's fighting some Plague Marines on the far right flank failed his Shadowfield save over there. And over here we've lost another Incubi in that combat. And now we're moving on to Dark Eldar turn 4, which will be the last turn of the game, because we are going to be counting objectives right after this. And as it stands, it is tied, but the objectives get counted at the end of the game. Dark Eldar turn 4. Hellions rallied, tried to snap shoot, didn't kill the Warpsmith and the Terminator. We had a Ravager, a Razor Wing try and shoot at them, also didn't do anything. Another Razor Wing fired into the Havocs and didn't do anything. And then we had these little guys. Yeah, they killed the 3 Chaos Space Marines that were left with their little shuriken catapults. The Medusa got a strength 2 flamer and didn't kill anybody. And then the liquefy gun killed a lot of those Death Corps of Krieg and then failed to charge. And the Ravager failed to kill anybody of that big Chaos Space Marine unit. The Archon is still alive in combat, bogged down by Plague Marines, and that Archon died a horrible, hideous death at the hand of their Plague Knives. So we're moving on to the last turn. Oh, by the way, my Grotesque in the back there. They killed the Raptor and moved behind that ruin. And now we're moving into Imperial Guard and Chaos and Tau. Turn 4. Many bodies have fallen. Many tactical stuff happened this game. The Wall of Martyrs, held by the Imperial Guard and the Chaos Space Marines and the Tau. So, Imperial Guard claimed that objective at the end of the game, giving them 2 points because it was at the second break. They claim this objective because they're the closest to that one, which is another 2 points. They claim not that objective, that's mine, and not that objective, that's mine. But they do have the one by the Riptide as well, meaning that with an extra 8 points to my 4 points, it is an 8 to 12 victory for the Imperial Guard. Dork Lords victorious. Thanks a lot for watching. This is the first Apocalypse game that we've had with the new Apocalypse rules. It was a lot of fun. Rob, do you have any final words?
It was a very good game. I really liked some of the new Apocalypse rules, and for my first ever Apocalypse game, it was just so much fun.
That was right. I had a lot of fun. We've learned a lot. I think next time, Rob and I, we're going to try and do this more frequently, and it's really pumped us up to paint more models and get more formations and crazy things on the table. So make sure you stay tuned, and thanks for watching The Apocalypse. Skari out. Make sure you stay tuned, of course, for the Tactical Corner. Welcome to another Tactical Corner. Okay. Starting with my army, I divided my army into 4 main sections. First, we had the only formation I had, which was a Cavalite Webway Strike Force, which was a lot of fun to try. Secondly, we had all the Coven units, a couple of Talos, Grotesques, a couple of Homunculus, Rex, and some Scourge. Then we had the Cult units, Witches, Reaver Jet Bikes, Beast Packs, and the 2 Raise Wings. Basically my entire collection of painted models. And then the ad hoc add-ons. So we had the Court of the Archon, an extra Archon, Mandrakes, the Eldar allies, and of course Hellions. So, on to the battlefield. The battlefield was a large 8x6. We basically set up with 24 inches apart, 6 objectives, and we got to it. My original plan was to mitigate as much damage as I could with the blind barrage and then pounce on the rather impressive gun line as much as possible. Sadly, the witches that ended up facing off against the Eradicator got systematically destroyed and were unable to take care of that main threat, meaning that I was unable to push up against the right flank. And the large mass of infantry that he was pushing up on my left, I just did not have enough to deal with that many Toughness 5 Plague Marines and Mark of Nurgle Marines. The Cavalite Strike Force was amazing. I loved it. I am going to be using it more in the future, now that I know more tactics. The Beast Pack was also very useful, being able to quickly move up. Of course, we played everything. There was a few things we did wrong, such as when to bring in strategic reserves and when to call, when you call the finest hour, you can like make a unit do an all-out attack which triples its movement. You know, little things like that could have turned the tide of the game. But overall, having 2 4,000 point armies on the same table, just being able to watch the epic dice rolls and just the amount of models that ended up getting piled up on our dead piles was really fun. Some of the key moments of the game were the Hades drill making the Farseer and his unit fall back, and the Raptors coming in, the Hellions holding up against a bunch of Plague Marines only to get cut down eventually, his Warlord going down to some Reaver jet bikes in assault, and overall this was an absolute blast and I cannot wait to do it again. I'm really looking forward to trying out and testing the other formations for the Dark Eldar and some other strategic assets, and really creating a real space raid tactica that will be more in tune with the tactics that Dark Eldar will have to use to face off against the might of heavier armies. Thanks a lot for watching. This is Skari. Stay tuned for more.